welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. 2 games up this week, the first of which is a role-playing game combined with, I'd say a roguelike strategy game combined with a card game. That is quite the combination, but we'll break it down in a bit. Anyway, the game is called Deep Sky Derelicts. Obviously a play off of Deep Sea Derelicts. It's a bit odd that they use the word sky because it's not really taking place in the sky. It's taking place in space.
The deep sky is space.
Fair enough, I suppose. It's just not like... They could have used Deep Space Derelicts and it would have worked as well. Anyway, but yeah, the Deep Sky Derelicts are the dungeons you explore. Your crew is tasked with trying to find... I'll be honest, I forgot exactly what I was supposed to be finding, like some sort of special planet or something, You're
looking for a mothership, I think.
Yeah, there we go. Like I said, the premise is really flimsy and incidental. Quite frankly. Okay, somebody forgot to mute their cell phone. Sorry about that. Live recording. Anyway, getting back to it. Yeah, so you are a crew of scavengers. Now, granted, it's also scavengers an actual class in the game. There are several classes. My team was a leader, a scavenger, and a medic. And it's like, and those the job does flow into the skill sets. For example, the leader class will have leadership abilities. That is to say, stuff like inspire, an actual character move they can do. It's like they can inspire the troops with a stat boost. Forget offhand what stats exactly get boosted, but the point is it's a buff. And so on and so forth. Not all your attacks or buffs. Not all your skills are tied to class. It's also tied to the various bits of equipment that are found in the game. For example, what kind of gun you have will affect what kind of shots you can fire. What kind of shield generator you have will affect that aspect, and so on and so forth. It plays like a pretty typical RPG, all things considered. It is a turn-based RPG at that. It's pretty light on on not so much the feature sets, the actual interplay of stats is as complex as you'd think it would be. It's more like actions. This isn't a JRPG from the PlayStation 2 era where it's got an elaborate battle system where where your position is affects this, that, and the other thing. It's much simpler. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, where the roguelike aspect comes into it is in the actual dungeons. That is to say, they are randomly generated to a point. I suppose more procedurally generated because, if a certain dungeon has a certain event or a certain side quest that takes place in it, it's always going to have that, but like where its location is going to differ. That sort of thing. Like the actual layout of the dungeon is going to change, along with the enemy encounters, what kind of hazards you encounter. Like there are hazard tiles of various, like for example, there is radiation. There is power surge. It's never clear on what exactly that did. Like, I'm like, and I think that if I'm, I think that was done in conjunction with the movement system, which is where things get really interesting, because every move you make takes energy. You start out with a certain amount of energy points, and it's not just every time you move. Like if you get into a fight, you will drain energy every turn. Now, not a lot of energy, but it's something that you have to take into consideration. I'm not exactly sure what happens when you run out of energy, because I made sure to never run out of energy. It's suggested if you are running low, you should run away from battle. You should convert energy in there are various items, and any object can be converted into a certain amount of energy, and there are macro upgrades that will permanently power up your energy, that will slow down the usage of energy, that sort of thing. It's like my personal play style was I would explore an area, and if I got that, 400, 300 energy, I'd probably make a run for the the landing zone / exits, because it's like another thing to consider is, like, if you're going to retreat from the dungeon, is like how far away is the exit. Now the good news is dungeons will have 2 exits, but only one is accessible from the start. You have to find the other one. And it's going to be It's going to be far away from the other one. That's kind of the point of it. Like, now, probably one of the most interesting aspects of the game is the graphical style, because it's done in this very heavily inked graphic novel style. It's like, really can't think of another game that does this particular aesthetic. Looks really good, looks really clean, really fits the mood. Just really wonderful stuff. The soundtrack, it's a lot of techno. It's like, it's like, this being a space romp, that's not unexpected. It's fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. Anyway, what brought this game down a couple of pegs for me was the difficulty balance. Like, if you've been playing role-playing games long enough, you've encountered this. I mean, it's one of the fundamental aspects to role-playing games, both of Western or Eastern origin. It's where your level is, what your level is, will determine how easy or hard the enemies are. God. And this is one of those RPGs where, if you're a little over leveled, the encounters do get a bit too easy. But if you're even slightly under leveled, the encounters get way too hard. And yeah, this game was prone to some massive difficulty spikes. It's like, once I got to the 3rd tier levels, I actually stopped playing, because things stopped getting challenging in a good way. It's more like the enemies started. Another aspect of the enemies is they don't only have hit points; they have shield points. Um, some do, some don't, but you know, you have generally you have to break the shield, and then you attack the life points. Like generally, but there is also a puncture status effect which can negate the shield. But you know, generally how that works, and you know, by the third tier, it's like the shield points and the hit points were really, really large for all the encounters, and you got 3 of them, and you know, I just wasn't doing enough damage. You know, even with like level 5 weapons and stuff. You know, and unfortunately, it's also you can't really grind in this game. I know that sounds weird to say at the outset, but that has to do with levels. You know, it's like you get experience points to increase your levels. You know, and you do that in the typical role-playing game way. You do that by completing quests, killing enemies. You can even get items that'll give you some, not much, but some experience points. The problem is if you're not at the right level, you can't really increase your levels by going back to a dungeon and fighting random encounters. It's like while the encounters are randomized when you first get to a dungeon, once you have gone to a dungeon and once you've gotten out, that actually standardizes the dungeon, and encounters don't respawn. So, I just hit a figurative wall at this game, and it got to a point where I wasn't enjoying the challenge or the combat. It's generally bullet sponginess is one of the cheaper ways to have difficulty. It's still a good game, but that does exist as well. Let's see. As far as leveling up goes, there are 10 levels, and each level unlocks a new ability, and you get two 4 ability points per level, and it's and you put. And you do the standard. You put the points where you want them to, and sort of thing up to level 5. Then things change a bit, because you've got the normal upgrades, and then you have to pick a second pathway for your second you can see it in some of the screenshots, where the upper upgrades are blank on the right side. Yeah, it's. It's you have to pick the medic leadership, or the specific track there, and it'll fill in the upgrades. So if you want to have a different set of upgrades from your class, you can do that. Or if if you just want the upgrades, the upper tier upgrades from the right side, it can do that as well. I thought that was an interesting bit. Let's see. Pricing. So this game, the base game, clocks in at $20, and this game has 1 expansion pack at time of recording. I don't think I got this in the code I was sent. I'm like. Or if it did, it's like I wasn't familiar with the base game. The point is, I can't really evaluate the DLC pack, DLC option, because I did not experience the game before, or it's like I've either experienced the game with it or without it. The point is, I have not experienced the game before it and with the expansion pack, which is kind of the determining factor in a proper evaluation, I think. I mean, in general, yeah, the expansion pack is recommended because it adds stuff. What the new Prospects DLC will add is, hang on here, that is the wrong window. Yeah, it's like making planetfall, getting lost in blizzards and sandstorms, engaging in scavenger colonies, and clearing out mountain layers. Yeah, I don't think I got this. I certainly didn't make planetfall on anything. Let's see, you've also got things like stealth and rush exploration. You can sneak past enemies. Okay, yeah, I can definitely say I've not encountered this, because stealth would have been helpful. Field treatments, global conditions, local conditions. Yeah, basically this adds a whole bunch of stuff. Not just your standard, it's got new enemies, it's got a new character class, the Miner. But it's like it's adding bigger things like settlements and planetfall.
That sounds like a fairly significant change for a game that is about being in the, and I quote, deep sky, end quote.
Yeah. Yes. This expansion pack retails for $6.99. Obviously, the best way to buy it is in the requisite bundle, which clocks in at $24.28, a discount of 10%. As far as if the game is recommended, yeah, I'd say so. And as a game in and of itself, it's a solid game. It's not, it's not a Final Fantasy game, or it's not Dragon Quest. It's not, it's not Wasteland. It's not Pillars of Eternity. It's not one of the all-time great RPGs, but it's a decent downloadable romp, I think. It's just, if the difficulty got rebalanced, then I could say this is a really good game. As it is, it's just merely edging on, decent good. It's like I'd say 6.5 out of 10 to put it in number quantification. Anyway, so that'll about do it for Deep Sky Derelicts. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Galix here will be reviewing the Nintendo Switch version of Luca Born of a Dream.
Oh boy.